Hey there, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into something absolutely essential for your business's success: operations. Think of it like the engine that powers everything you do. So let's pop the hood and make sure it's running perfectly.
For any business owner, that journey to success can really feel like a long road trip. And today, we're pulling into a super important pit stop: operations. This is where we check the engine, we tune up the mechanics, and we make absolutely sure you're ready for the road ahead.
All right, here's our game plan for today. We're going to start by defining what operations even are. Then we'll inspect the three core components. That's systems, processes, and policies. And then we'll tie it all back together to your company's ultimate destination, its vision.
Okay, let's get right into it. What is this stop really all about? I mean, what do we actually mean when we throw around the word operations?
Well, operations is basically the engine room of your business. And here's the thing, it's not just one thing. It's this dynamic intersection where your tools, your workflows, and your rules all smash together. And the whole point of it all? To create a solid, reliable framework so your team can consistently deliver on the promises you make to your customers.
Okay, first things first, let's look under the hood at your systems. Now, these are the tools and the technology your team is using every single day to get their jobs done. So for a system to actually work, for it to be truly effective, it's got to hit three key marks. First, it has to be supportive. It has to actually help the people on the front lines do their jobs better. Second, it needs to be operational. I mean, it has to work reliably when you need it to, right? And finally, and this is a big one that gets missed all the time, it has to be utilized. You can have the best, most expensive software in the world, but it's totally useless if your team isn't actually using it or using it correctly. And wow, this quote just perfectly captures what happens when systems are a bad fit. The source material compares it to an ill-fitting shoe. Just think about that for a second. A decision gets made in a corporate office, maybe to save a few bucks, without ever thinking about the reality on the ground. And that decision can literally cripple the person who has to wear that shoe and walk the miles every single day. Your systems have to fit the people who use them, period. Okay, so from supportive systems, we naturally move on to processes. This is pretty straightforward. Processes are simply the how of your business, the specific steps you take to turn inputs into outputs and deliver real value. And this brings us to a really critical question from the source material. Before you spend all your time optimizing how you do things, you need to be 100% sure you're doing the right things to begin with. The what has to come before the how. If you focus on getting the what right, figuring out the how becomes a much easier problem to solve.
One of the most powerful things you can do is to actually map your processes, get it all out there visually. By laying out your current as-is workflow, you can immediately spot where things are getting duplicated or where the bottlenecks are. Then, right next to it, you can design your ideal to-be process. Putting them side by side like that is just an incredibly effective way to show everyone why a change is needed and get the whole team on board.
All right, last but not least in our core components, let's talk policies. These are the rules of the road for your company, the guidelines that help streamline decisions and shape how people behave.
Policies, they can be a real double-edged sword, can't they? Way too often, they're just written to control people, and they get outdated fast, and they end up killing creativity. So the real question you have to ask yourself is this: do my policies act like rigid cages, or are they more like flexible guardrails that actually empower my team to innovate safely? See, great policies aren't just some boring rulebook. They're actually built on three big ideas that all work together, and it all starts right here with the foundation of trust. And that trust isn't just handed over. It has to be earned by consistently and measurably delivering on your promises time and time again. And once you have that trust, what happens? Well, it allows you to build policies that actively encourage innovation. The source material talks about creating a no-stripes communication culture. I love that phrase, where a great idea is valued whether it comes from a branding intern or the CEO. Your policies should support that kind of open dialogue because that's where the real breakthroughs happen. And finally, that trust in innovation is supported by smart standardization. Just think about your favorite coffee shop for a second. You go there because you have a clear expectation of the coffee and the service you're going to get. Well, standardization does the same thing for your business. It creates reliability and ensures customers get what they expect every single time. So you see, trust, innovation, and standardization, they're all connected. Okay, so we've got systems, processes, and policies. But here's where it gets really cool. These three elements don't just exist in a bubble. They connect directly to the big picture, to your company's overall vision.
And this is maybe the biggest takeaway of the day. A well-tuned operations engine isn't the final destination. It's the powerful vehicle that allows you to actually get to your strategic goals. Without strong operations, your vision, well, it's just a dream. Just look at this chart from our source material. It lays it out perfectly. Operations is one of 4 essential pillars, standing right there alongside people, funding, and culture. You need all 4 of them to hold up the weight of your strategy and ultimately your vision. If any one of those pillars gets weak, the whole structure could come crashing down.
So to help you put all this into action, the source material gives us this awesome toolkit. Think of this as your practical guide for tuning up that engine. It walks you through the whole process, from the big picture strategy stuff like identifying focus areas, all the way down to the nitty-gritty, like the specific steps for drafting and implementing policies. It really is a great roadmap to get you started.
So as we wrap up this pit stop and you get back on your business journey, I want to leave you with this question. Is your operations engine humming along, powerfully driving your business forward, or is it sputtering, inefficient, and maybe even stuck in the mud? Because the answer to that question is going to determine how far and how fast you can really go.